Everybody, RotoWire Fantasy Football Live here to get your sit questions answered. Let's just get rolling here. We'll have some people on YouTube and Twitter. We'll have some people on Instagram. So I might be looking a little bit in both directions. Apologize for that. Please wait to get your question answers. A bunch of them in the hopper already. I'll get to you. Please don't post them multiple times, and we will be good to go. And I don't think, am I live on there? Yeah, it should be good. Okay, so let me just check one more thing. Make sure I'm on Instagram here. Make sure I'm on here correctly. Yeah, I think I'm live now. All right, good. Uncle, Unite. I keep saying Uncle. Unite Santini. You risking Cooper to go with Sutton, Pickens, or Zach Moss. So look, Cooper being a Monday night game, it's risky. Because we really don't know the in-week injury. It could mean anything from he missed a few snaps and there, he'll be fine. It could be something that there could be a problem. So we're worried. So look, instead of taking the risk, I think Zach Moss is a great floor play this week. Houston is going to be not a great run defense. They're not going to load to stop the run because we saw the 3 receiver sets that the Colts ran almost every play last week, and they ran from shotgun. So that's going to give Moss, and remember, Moss, last 4 games, he started for the Colts last year. He was running for 4.8 yards per carry, and the situation is much, much, much better. All right, welcome Instagram too as well. Just got a question here. I'm going to keep going back and forth. Yeah, full PPR, bench 1, Pierce, Javonte, or Dillon. You know what? Pierce does have a bad matchup, but he's a very good running back, and I believe with the receptions, he'll be fine. Javonte, look, he showed enough last week. Dillon's the one. He's like 3 yards a carry, and I know Aaron Jones is out. Dillon's just not a good runner at this point, and I think it's a very low-volume game. I think both teams are going to drain the clock. So Dillon could score a touchdown, and he could score 2. But I think the probability is he's about 45 yards. And otherwise, I think Pierce and Javonte are safer. I will say Dillon has more upside in this game than Pierce because if he scores twice, you've got it. If you want safe, it's Pierce and Javonte. If you want to take the boom bust shot, go Javonte and Dillon. All right, Unite Santini again. Pick 2, Evans, Hopkins, Brees, Dotson, or Dobbs. Evans gets the Bears. The Bears are down a corner, so they're down to their Tyreek Stevenson, the rookie, and Jalen Johnson, who hasn't been very good in his 4th year. I think Evans is, and they don't have a pass rush, so this is the week where Baker Mayfield can get the ball downfield. So I love Evans this week. Hopkins, I don't want to trust the ankle. I just think he didn't practice all week. They force-fed him targets. He could be a decoy. Maybe he goes off, but I mean, it really was like ragged last week. Brees Hall showed great. Dallas's defense is probably going to stack the box in him. They don't respect the quarterback. Dobbs is a good play. I know the volume would be low in this game, but he's like with Watson out and Aaron Jones out, he's like the clear number 1. He should get 7 targets here. So I would go Evans and Dobbs, but Dotson sneaky because if we see Patrick Surtain on McLaurin a lot, Dotson could have a much more favorable matchup with Damari Mathis. So consider that. But I think Evans and Dobbs both have a level of floor and ceiling that look good in this game. And then one more for United States, Puka or Mostert, half PPR. Puka's at the 49ers this week, and now the 49ers have film and they know what he wants to do. It's going to be tough. If you love him, take your shot on him. But I think Mostert should get enough carries. He gets about 10 to 12 carries. I think that's going to get him enough. But Mostert doesn't have a lot of upside. The coach realized last year you got to limit his workload, and he did. After like the first 7 weeks, he severely limited Mostert's workload. 31 in injury history. Mostert's safer, but look, Puka has a better chance of scoring. I would start Mostert, but if you want a little more upside in boom bust, that'd be Puka. Let's see another one. Insta here. Najee or Josh Kelly. All right, look, Josh Kelly is going to be a good player this year. I liked him last year before he got hurt, but they're playing Tennessee. Nobody runs on the Titans. And that was when they were all kinds of banged up down the stretch last year. Nobody runs on the Titans. If there's a guy who's like an explosive player, he might get like one lucky 30-yard run. That's not Kelly. Kelly could get 14, 15 carries and end up with 32, 34 yards. Give me Najee Harris here. Najee Harris, I know it was a weird game last week, but when he was on the field, he was fine. Go at Najee. Don't think too. That's like 80 to 20 on that one. All right, Jim Coop. Early, so yep, I'm glad you got here early. Yep. Need 2 in the PPR. Dotson, Hill, Justice Hill, or Kendrick Bourne. Oh, man. Dotson for sure. We talked about the matchup earlier. He should get a lot of Damari Mathis. We should be good here. Justice Hill, it's going to be interesting because it was triage mode last week, and he kind of was scramble mode. He had 8 carries for 9 yards. He's not a good runner. He's a decent receiver, and he gets the 2 touchdowns, so that throws us off the scent. But Kendrick Bourne will get a blow-up game. Then he'll see like 2 snaps the next week. That said, I think against Miami, who runs a deeper zone, I do think the underneath stuff's available. I'm going to say Dotson and Kendrick Bourne because of that reason. And let's see here. Instagram question. Josh Allen or Tua. Oh man, you know what? Bill Belichick has been beaten by Tua every time they played, but I still have to think that Belichick's going to have at least a decent game plan to somewhat try to limit some things. Josh Allen, you've got to think coming off that embarrassing loss, coming home, playing the Raiders who have Max Crosby, and I really don't respect a lot else on their defensive end. I think they get it done in a big way. You can't go wrong with either, okay? Both can have a huge game. I think Josh Allen has a higher floor. I think they both have great ceiling potential. I'm going to lean Josh Allen in this must win in Orchard Park. All right. Unite again. Watson, would you drop Dubs for Zach Moss? No, I wouldn't drop him. I like Zach Moss, but I like Dubs too. And Dubs is going to get targets. And so, no, I wouldn't. Dubs is going to be a player all year long for you. Zach Moss, remember, he has value now, but if Jonathan Taylor comes back, that value's gone. All right. So we should be, and then let's see. And you should be good there. Tom, you get PPR highest floor from Higgins or Sanders. The running back always will have the higher floor because the touches are going to turn into something. And New Orleans run defense does not really scare me. They have players from last year, but they lost a lot of their main players. So the guys who were rotational are now starters playing longer snaps. And I do think Miles Sanders' volume is going to give him a higher floor. Overall, though, I love Higgins in a matchup. So Sanders is a higher floor, but I think Higgins is going to be really fine here because no Marlon Humphrey, no safety Marcus Williams. They're going to have to spend their energy on Chase. But in terms of my starting lineup, you wanted the floor. I would be like 75-25 to Higgins on that one. That's what I would do. But again, I think floor wise, we saw the 0 from Higgins last week. Sanders really can't get that. Henry, Tua or Fields. All right. It's going to be interesting with Fields because we saw last week, right? Now, the Packers played way more aggressive than we've seen them play in the past. That defense usually sits back, and they didn't. The Bears were surprised by that. They don't have a good game plan either. But that said, this week they're playing the Bucs. The Bucs are going to blitz a lot, but that means there could be a lot of big runs by Fields. The other thing, Carlton Davis, their corner, is out. And remember, last year's slot corner, Sean Murphy-Bunting, is now in Tennessee. So realistically, Fields has a phenomenal matchup, but I don't know if he can sit Tua because we saw what Tua can do. And I think Bill Belichick game plans, and he comes up with something to maybe limit them. But at this point, Fields has a higher floor, way higher floor, because he could run. I think he runs for 60-plus yards in this game. But Tua has a reasonable floor too, and we know he can go off. It's a tough one. If I'm in my league right now, I Fields matchup, I love it, and I love the running, and I love that floor. But again, it's like 51-49% is that. If you have a gut feel, go with it. But I give Fields a very slight lean because I think he's going to run. Honestly, I think he's going to run for 90 yards and a touchdown or two this week. And I think that'll tilt it for me. But it's close. All right. And then drop Zay Jones for Marquise or Marquise Brown for Roschon Johnson. Zay Jones will have inconsistent volume because there are 4 players ahead of him in the pecking order. Marquise Brown probably gets Kyler Murray at some point. It's back at some point, and he will at that point be the number 1 option in the offense. For that reason, I would say Zay Jones, despite last week's production. Jay, first-time caller, long-time listener, very nice. And by the way, if you're asking questions, please wait. I'll get to you. There's a lot in the hopper. I'll get around everybody. All right, Jay, what do you got here? 2 running backs in a flex. You got Gibbs, Connor, Mike Williams, Algier, and Pierce. Good problem to have. You need 3 of them. Mike Williams, last week, the Dolphins did a great job of setting up Vic Fangio zone, and they took away all the deep stuff the Chargers took underneath. This week, they're playing the Titans. The Titans stopped the run. They can't stop the passer. Now, Christian Fulton, their third corner, they're down their safety, Amani Hooker. So this is the Williams week. So you're going to go with him. James Conner played great last week. Tough defense, and he's still 4 yards carrying. That injury, I think that injury didn't exist. I think he's been on the injury report many weeks this year. They're going to rest him on Wednesdays and Thursdays. He's their offense, and I think they're going to arrest him and just call it like injury-related stuff. They took him off the injury report. So I'm going to, and then my third one, look, I love Algier, and I drafted him. I start him as a flex every week, but I think Gibbs is going to be more involved this week. Last week, I called the Montgomery one. This week, I think Gibbs does get more run. So I'm going to go Connor, Gibbs, and Mike Williams. Algier's good, but I think in this series, you don't need him. And Pierce, I assume you mean Alec Pierce. even if you met Damian Pierce, your other options are better. But if it's Alec Pierce, we got to wait and see. Robert, good morning. Half PPR, Josh Kelly. I got to go Sanders here. Like I keep saying, nobody runs on the Titans. Kelly could get 15 carries and get 32 yards. Miles Sanders is a receiver too. So I'm going to go that way. I love Kelly too. Believe me, I love him, but not this week. Last week, I bet the under on Jamal Williams rushing yardage. This week, Kelly has a higher yardage prop, and I'll bet the under on that one too. Let's get back to some Instagram questions here. Herbert or Tua? Got to go Herbert here. And again, love Tua. I think Bill Belichick has a plan, but Herbert is playing the Titans, who cannot stop the pass. Their pass rush is not going to be a problem for that offensive line, so they're good there. Johnny, Gibbs, Montgomery, and Connor. Connor, you want to start Gibbs, but can't decide on Monty or Connor. I don't think there's a Monty week. Last week I called that one. I think Connor's your way to go. Connor is healthy. He is fine. They're playing the Giants. And if he catches some passes, the linebacking play leaves a lot to be desired. So I think we're going to be fine there. The yardage will pile up there. Jumberman, Mike Williams, or Joshua Kelly. 95-5 Mike Williams. I just want to talk about the Josh Kelly matchup. Mike Williams is a beautiful matchup this week. Joe, Puka, or Kendrick Bourne. All right. Again, Kendrick Bourne, I said this earlier. Hi, Wendy. I see you're in the house. That's good. Happy you're here. With Bourne, we've seen him last year. He'll have a big game, and then he'll get 2 snaps the next week. There's a big concern with that. I'm going to just say Puka has a horrible matchup. There's tape on what they did. They isolated him on Bobby Wagner for 6 catches last week. Wagner can't run anymore. But I'm going to say Puka there because I just don't know that Bourne's not going to just be game planned out. Every week, it's just with him. It's just way different. So I'm just too nervous to start him when at least Puka is going to get targets. And then Roshan Johnson, the flex for Brandon. If you believe in Roshan, definitely start him there. Tampa Bay is not a good run defense anymore. They're okay, but they're definitely not what they were. Screwball, morning to you. Evan Ingram or Hunter Henry. So again, last week, the New England game plan was very, very simple. We kind of knew this going in. We said they'd attack the spine of the Philly defense, and they did all day long. Belichick knew they had a lot of turnover there. That's where they were weak last year. Evan Ingram is a great matchup. He did very well against Kansas City before. Now adding the outside receiver, Calvin Ridley, there's even more when the Chiefs can't really just saturate the middle. I'm going to say Evan Ingram because he's a more stable part of the weekly offense. And then Chad, you've got dire dynasty situation with Eckler, with the option. Trey Palmer versus Juco Bears, Deshaun Butte. Butte, 1 foot, twice 1 foot in bounds. Hyatt, no targets. Lat Murray, all floor, and Ahmed. So you need one of those players. I wonder how much the Bucs actually have to throw here, but they can't run. I would probably give Palmer a shot here. I think he's going to get a few targets, and I think he gets that Bears defense. Bears are already, they already lost down. They're down a corner. I would go with that. I don't know. Murray had more work than Damian Harris last week, but it still wasn't much. Butte's an interesting pick because I think they could go back to him, but I think Palmer might be the way to go. I think Butte may have the most upside of them all. Screwball with Austin Eckler out. You need to start Brian Robinson or Samaje Perine. Perine has a tougher matchup against the Commanders. Commanders have a good front. Robinson, on the other hand, we're looking against, the same game, right? And Denver's not lights out. I think they both have a reasonable floor. I think Robinson has a better chance to score at the goal line. I think P. Ryan could be out at the goal line. And so it's fairly even. I'm going to give Robinson the edge there because he has a better chance of scoring. And again, Wendy, so happy you're here. Thank you. JR, standard scoring, you need 1. Sanders, Pierce, or Breece Hall. Sanders has the best chance of a versatile workload of runs and receptions. And again, the Saints don't scare me as much as they used to. And the fact that the Saints are on the road, that's helpful too. The Saints had a lot of turnover on their defense. Some of the rotational players are now starters. I think Sanders is probably the best. Pierce is a bad matchup. I still like him, and he could have a good game. And then Breece Hall, I think Dallas is going to overstack the box because they don't fear Zach Wilson at all. So I'm going to give the slight lean to Miles Sanders for that reason. Max, good morning to you as well. Thank you for listening to this series. I really appreciate you, Max. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Johnny Reb, sit one, Dotson, Flowers, or Nakua. So Flowers, look, he was an integral part of that passing game, a bunch of screens. He had an over route too. I think they can. I think right now he just one game, but it looks like he's a focal point of that offense. So I think we go with him. And Jahan Dotson, I think Surtain's going to see a lot of Terry McLaurin, and I think Jahan Dotson gets it done for you. Nakua, the targets this week, but his matchup is brutal this week, so I'd probably lean away from him. And I'm going to just go over to Insta for a couple questions here. Ezra wants to know Khalil Herbert or Terry McLaurin. So it was really a three-man split in that Chicago backfield last week, and that gets me nervous. Now, McLaurin's going to see a lot of Surtain, I think, and I think that makes it problematic. I think Herbert's actually a safer play this week. Now, McLaurin can always get a big play, and if he ends up on Damari Mathis, he could totally cash. So Herbert is your floor play. If you got to go boom bust because you need a high point game, which Herbert's unlikely to get, I would go McLaurin. And then Adrian, you got PPR flex, Moss, Atwell, or London. So Moss is the safest of these. He's going to get work. He last 4 games that he started for Indy, he was averaging 18 carries a game, 4.8 yards per carry. Now with a shotgun offense and Anthony Richardson, I think he's a strong floor play. Atwell, I kind of called him out last week. I didn't call him out enough. I should have called him out more than I did. Drake London, we're just worried. London has a good ceiling if he gets the ball, but that's the problem. They may not, and he'll get a lot of Jair Alexander too, depending on the side of the field. And so I think that's going to just say Moss is the floor play. He's a safe one. I would most likely go with him. But if you needed like 18 points, London could get you a 2, but he could get you an 18 if they decide to throw him the ball 7 times, which they might. But he's very risky. So I would take the layup with London. But if you got to swing for defense, then go that way. All right, Robin, what do you got here? You've got standard need 2 running backs in a flex. Pierce, White, Williams, or Ayuk, 2 in a flex. We're definitely going to roll back with Ayuk. I know sometimes week to week we don't know what we're getting from him work-wise, but I do believe against his matchup against the Rams, he will be able to get plenty of opportunity, and he should be just fine. So we're going with him as your flex. Your 2 running backs, you know what? Rachaad White doesn't have a bad matchup with the Bears, but he just does not look good. And he's already losing work to Sean Tucker, and I got to sneeze. Oh, man. And also a little bit of Chase Edmonds. The sneeze is coming. Sorry, guys. But I'm just going to say Dameon Pierce because I think he can get some receptions and rushes, and he's just a good player in a rougher matchup. And then Javonte looked good enough last week. So I'm going to sit Rachaad White. If you're a big White believer, the player I would sit over him if you're believing him would be Pierce, but I'm going to go with him there. John, which one do you have here? Which quarterback do I like, Watson or Fields? You know, Watson, it was encouraged last week. It was bad weather. The ball was wet. It was windy, and he looked bad in the first half, but he looked much better in the second half, but he still runs. I gotta say I like Fields more because I think the blitz by Todd Bowles and a corner being out. I think I'm gonna go with Fields here because I think Fields has a much higher floor and obviously the ceiling is higher. Although I do like Watson a good deal, but it isn't the best matchup against Pittsburgh. Even though Pittsburgh is down, well, it's a run defense really. Cam Hayward's out. All right, what do we got here? JBF, Dubs, Zach Moss, or Herbert in the flex. So as much as I like Zach Moss, and I do think he should get you 80 yards on the ground with a fair chance to score, Romeo Doubs is like their lead receiver right now, and he's off the injury report. That hamstring checks out well, and there's no Aaron Jones, and there's no Christian Watson. So I think Doubs has the opportunity to have a solid game. Moss has the best floor because he's going to get 15+ touches. He's got the best floor of them all. Herbert just too much of a timeshare for my liking. But I think Doubs is a player you should consider because he has a chance of getting higher yardage if you can make some things. But I think that's a low volume game. Both teams are going to try to play the pace very slow. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say Zach Moss 51 to 49%, but if you have a gut feel on Doubs, definitely go with it. Big Truz Boat. Garrett Wilson or Mike Williams. Everybody knows I love Garrett Wilson, but man, it's going to be very hard to love him this week against Dallas and with Zach Wilson. And Mike Williams has a beautiful matchup. Last week, Miami took the deep game away, and this week, Tennessee can't do that. I'm going to say Mike Williams here, and it pains me to say that because I love Garrett Wilson. I love both. Both these were flag plant players for me. Austin, what you got here? Nico, Romeo Doubs, or Elijah Moore? I'm going to say Romeo Doubs. Elijah Moore I love, but we don't really know what his role and how inclusive it's going to be yet. I think that's going to be a little bit of a work in progress. We don't know the status of Amari, and so that makes it a little more muddy. Nico Collins I love. I think he's going to do well, but at some point, I mean, they're down 4 linemen now, and although I think Collins will have a fine game, I think Romeo Doubs is more of a staple of what Green Bay Bay is doing. It's very close, though. And again, I love Elijah Moore, but I'm going to put it between Collins and Dobbs, and this is going to be another really close one. I'm going to go 53% Dobbs, 47% Collins, but Collins, if he gets in the end zone, that guy that could flip it. But I think Dobbs has a safer floor than Collins at this point. Ezra, Herbert, or Terry McLaurin. I think somebody had that same question. Again, if you want the boom bust play, you're going to go with McLaurin because I think he's going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain, but he could win. But if he's on Surtain, it's going to be tough. So I think he'll get enough snaps away from him. But Herbert's a floor play. He's splitting the backfield 3 ways. And I know Roshan got a ton of work when the game was out of hand last week. So, I mean, maybe there's something to that. So I think Herbert, though, has the floor of them. But McLaurin has, I think, a significantly better ceiling. And again, especially if he gets on Damari Mathis some. So I would probably lean toward McLaurin, like 53-47, another real close one there. And then Mo Diesel, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Robinson. So since these guys are in the same game and it's Monday night, you can wait. And what you're going to wait for is to see the inactive report. If Amari Cooper's out, you're playing Donovan Peoples-Jones. Otherwise, you're playing Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, I think, is going to be, he was already playing. He played 89% of the snaps. It was when Deontay Johnson went out that Calvin Austin took over for him. So, and the slot's going to be really important against that pass rush and the outside corners of Cleveland. So Allen Robinson is a very strong play. But again, if Cooper's out, then I think Donovan Peoples-Jones does get a significant role here, and then I would lean him. Jay, you've got DJ Moore, Jahan Dotson, or Zay Flowers. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Look, DJ Moore in Carolina, he's done very well in his last 4 meetings against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's down Carlton Davis. They're going to blitz. I imagine the Bears, they got the ball in Moore's hands, both catches very early in that game, and they went away from him. But the Packers had a great game plan. I don't think that DJ Moore's going to be held down this game. I think he is going to be targeted at least 8 times, and I have to say he comes through for me. Now, Zay, if you're nervous about DJ Moore, and I understand if you're too nervous, Zay Flowers got a lot of targets, and I imagine his target rate stays high. Now, Jahan Dotson is super talented, but I think in that game, there's not going to be a heavy enough volume his way. So I'm going to go Moore 1, Flowers 2, Dotson 3. Justin, no PPR, Najee, Mixon, Cook, or James Cook. So James Cook actually played well last week. They played the Jets. It's a very, very tough matchup. James Cook this week, they're playing the Raiders. And we saw his usage. It was a very high snap percentage. I don't have the number in front of me. It was very high. He iced out Damian Harris and Lat Murray. So I'm going to say James Cook is a great play in this group. I do think Najee bounces back, but I think that James Cook is the primary back there, and that's not close for them right now. All right, what we got here? We got I don't know how to say the name. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce Hollywood Brown or Judy. I'm going to go Judy here. I just don't trust the quarterback play enough that Hollywood Brown is going to get the ball placed well where he needs to get yards after the catch. Judy, they waited till he was healthy to bring him back, and I think he immediately integrates as a big part of that offense. King Robbie, Higgins or DJ Moore. Oh man, that's a tough one. Both had bad week 1s. Both have great week 2 situations. Because you heard me explain about the Tampa Bay approach, I still think Higgins has an advantage because there's no Marlon Humphrey, there's no safety Marcus Williams, and I think the passing game thrives. But I know that divisional match, those games can get pretty ugly. I'm going to give DJ Moore a very slight edge here. But look, either of these players could go off. So slight edge to Moore, but if your gut says Higgins, trust your gut. Bialy, GM game, need to bench one. Pierce, Gabe Davis, DJ Moore, or Breece Hall. My gut tells me that Gabe Davis is going to have a game, but my gut is not an analytical gut. So based on what we've seen, Gabe Davis has not consistently put up the big digits. Pierce is going to have a fairly significant workload. DJ Moore, you heard me explain a minute ago. Breece Hall does have a bad matchup, but he's Breece Hall. And I think ultimately that's the difference. Breece Hall, what, he break off an 80-yard run last week? He's Breece Hall. And if Dallas overstacks the box and he gets to the second level, lights out. I'm going to reluctantly bench Gabe Davis because there's too much floor. The floor is too low. I do think he could do well, but I recognize there's always a floor with him, and it's unfortunate. Crown. All right, Drake London or Nico Collins. Oh, it's come. You're right. It's come to that. I know. Nico got targets. Double-digit targets. And Indy can't cover on the outside. It's so hard to tell people to bench Drake London because he's like a legitimate first-round NFL talent, but he's in this godforsaken system. If your gut says London, fine. I got to say Nico Collins. I mean, right now, he is the lead guy there. Their quarterback throws to the receivers that are outside, even if they're in the middle targets. Yes, I got to go Nico. And it pains me to say that. Max, 12-team standard wide receiver, heavy, thin on running backs. You lost Dobbins. Starting Cook. James Cook, I hope. Maybe Delvin. I don't know. Well, either way, but I hope it's James. Others got Brian Robinson or Joshua Kelly. I got to say Brian Robinson here. Joshua Kelly, that matchup is death. Tennessee doesn't give up anything in the run game, and they don't like their players. It doesn't matter if they stack the box or don't stack the box. They just consistently stuff the run. And Kelly's not a big time receiver. He's not a big play guy. I could say, like I said, 15 carries. I could see him going as low as 30 yards. I'm going to say Brian Robinson, better chance to score too. Mr. Nice Gaming, Terry McLaurin or JSN. Oh man, that Seattle offense was ugly, and they're playing Detroit. And they're going to get past no tackles. The tackles are both out. McLaurin has the nightmare matchup against Patrick Surtain. Not all the time. I mean, they switch sides. You know what I mean? And I don't think they're going to travel. I don't think they're going to travel him, but I think they'll line up about 60% of the time on the offensive left side, and that's where the defensive right side. I think they'll be there more than half of the time. So I think that said, JSN, we don't know what his targets are going to be, and he is the third option in the passing game. And I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin here. If your gut says JSN, I get it. But I think McLaurin will avoid Surtain enough to beat out JSN. And Sarah, you got a half PPR. You need to. James Cook, Ayuk, Rashad White, Brian Robinson, Sutton. So Ayuk right now, and I know there might be weeks where he doesn't get targets, but he has a fantastic mismatch here. And I imagine they got to get him the ball enough. And James Cook, you heard me talk about a minute ago. He had a bad matchup and he still did fine. He has a great matchup this week. I'm just going to say I'm going to go with Cook and Ayuk and call it a day over the other ones. And let's see here. Back to Instagram. Kirk or Zach Moss. All right. So I do think against the Chiefs, I think that we see more of the middle of the field used than we saw last week. Last week was the Calvin Ridley coming out party, and Christian Kirk was a big loser in that one. Now, Zach Moss is a better floor. I do expect him to get 15 carries. I expect him to get over 60 yards. He has a better floor. But I think Christian Kirk has a fair floor, but I think he does have a ceiling where he could go off for 90 yards if it works well. I'm not predicting 90 yards, but if it works well, he could find the end zone. But I think Zach Moss is safer. So if you want those like 12 fantasy points and you're good with it, then I think, non-PPR. If you want that 8 or so fantasy points, you dial in Moss. But if you need 14, 15, then Kirk has a better chance of getting that. I would take the safety of Moss, but you got to trust your feel if you need a little more upside, because this could be a high-scoring game too. Andrew, take a chance on Roschon in the flex. Don't like the upside of Mostert. Roschon did get most of his work in the second half of a game that was out of hand, so I don't know what his real role is. Mostert, I don't think you're going to give him any more than 10 carries because I think they learned that in the second half last year. They got to keep him healthy. So I get it. If you look, I don't know what the snap share is going to be for Roschon. That's the problem. So that said, trust your gut on this one because Mostert, I don't think has a lot of upside. I think he's a 31-year-old back. He's not going to get a ton of work. And overall, he's not the big play guy he was before. New England should be good against the run. So if that's Mostert does get the edge 60-40, but if you feel Roschon's going to get a high snap share, which I don't think we can quantify because of last week's game, then I think we kind of say, all right, maybe not. But use your gut there. But I will go with Mostert. Let's see here. Next one. Who do we have here? We got Francisco. Good morning to you. Pickens or Breece Hall? The Pickens matchup is tough because we saw last week the Browns will play press man and they will just disguise coverage and bring it from everywhere. They have 4 legitimate high-end pass rushers, and that's going to be a problem for Kenny Pickett. I think Breece Hall's your way to go because he's going to get work. Pickens is they're both stars, but I just think this matchup for Pickens it's going to be a problem for Kenny Pickett because he's not going to have a lot of time to throw here. All right, and then let's see what we got here. We got Shane K, Connor or Dylan. I'm going to go with Connor here. Dylan he's been since his first year, he declines every year. He barely had a yard per carry, I think, last week. It was like brutal. He just looked slow. He looked great his first year. But Connor's the guy. I mean, Connor, in a tough matchup last week, he did very, very well. And they're playing the Giants, and the Giants don't scare me. So, yeah, I'm going to go James Conner. I'm going to say like 70-30 on that one. B. Alley, half PPR, P. Ryan, Flowers, or Roshan. You know what? I think we got to go with Flowers, I think, here. The snap and target share he saw last week, even if that target share declines a bit, it was significant. And he's a big part of that offense. So I think right now you just kind of go. And then your second one, P. Ryan doesn't have an easy matchup here. And I just said about Roshan, I don't know what his workload really is because he got most of his work when the game was out of hand. So I just don't know enough about what his real role is. And yeah, I mean, the Packers already backed off, so he may be a great running back, but it may have been the Packers backed off and whatever. And there's a bunch of checkdowns too. I'm going to say P. Ryan safer as my second one. But if you really believe Roschon Johnson to get a high workload, then go ahead with him. I still think he's a number 3 in that backfield, all aside from games that are blowouts like last week. But maybe not. Maybe he changed their mind. JBF, Zach Moss, Herbert, or Herbert. All right. I think you maybe. Well, I like Zach Moss over Khalil Herbert, and that one is not close because Khalil Herbert's in a 3-man share where I think we're going to get at least 15 carries out of Zach Moss. Connor or Kelly, full PPR. James Conner, 90% to 10 on this one. Josh Kelly has a horrific matchup. I like him on the air, but I don't like him in this game. Garrett Wilson or Mike Williams. Mike Williams, we think we answer for somebody else. Love Garrett Wilson, love both players, but Williams has a better matchup, and Garrett Wilson has to deal with Zach Wilson, and Dallas will have game plan for him. Puka or Zay Flowers, Jeff Rogers, Zay Flowers, 85 to 15% there. Zay Flowers is a massive part of the game. Puka, there's film on him now. Now opponents realize, they actually are going to throw him the ball. The 49ers might defend him. And if they do, that could be a problem. Zay Flowers, where he wins, a lot of it was short. Those can get schemed open. So I think Zay Flowers is way safer. Puka was isolated on Bobby Wagner for 6 of those catches. Remember, Bobby Wagner's a linebacker, is a run stopper, and McVay just was able to scheme up plays to get Puka on. I felt bad for Bobby Wagner. He's an aging player. He's a great run stopper. He can't defend the pass. So I'm going to go with Zay Flowers very easily. And then Casey, Puka, Sutton, or Nico, you heard me talk about Puka. Sutton, Sutton's interesting. They're playing Washington. Washington has decent corner play, though, and they're going to get pressure. They're going to get pressure so I don't think downfield stuff's going to be there. I love Nico. Nico's going to get his targets. We saw it last week, double-digit targets, and even with the line down, it was down last week. They're down an extra player, but we see Stroud. He could buy some time and get the ball to his outside guys. Brian Pope, all right. Belichick will take out Hill. Yeah, I know. He's going to try. He will do whatever he can to slow him down. And I do think Waddle has a bigger game here because they both could go off. Even if he tries to take out Hill, you're right. Your point is right. They may dedicate so much personnel to Hill that Waddle has light coverage. And so I do think, and betting the over, I think Waddle was like 65 yards. Yeah, I like that. And I think Waddle will have a big game here. I agree. Albert, good to see you. Glad you're here. John, Cole Kmet or Evan Ingram. Oh, that's tough. Ingram's a big part of that offense, but you see Cole Kmet is the middle of the field presence, the only one. Chase Claypool, he's going to be active apparently, but they thought about deactivating him. They are just pissed with Chase Claypool. He's not blocking. Cole Kmet, if 7 targets last week, yeah, I could see that a lot of weeks because their outside guys are Mooney and DJ Moore, and the Bucs are weak in the middle of the field. I mean, the Vikings in week 1, they just relentlessly hammer the middle of the field. So look, Ingram is safer. Ingram's a better football player. It's possible they throw balls more to Kirk and more to Ridley. So it's Kmet still. He's a good player. Ingram's like more of a high level player, but honestly, I think Kmet this week is probably safer, but Ingram could go for 100 yards, and Kmet really can't do that. So I think Kmet's your safe guy. He's going to get you probably 6 points, 5 to 6 points. Ingram could have significantly better. Now Kmet could score. So if it's my lineup, I probably am saying at this point, I'm going to roll Ingram out there because it's a high explosive offense too. I think that's really comes out. I think I'm going to say him because the offense is more explosive, but it's a close call. If your gut says Kmet, can't blame you at all. All right, Sarwar, double flex league, Justice Hill or Mooney. All right, I'm going to go with Mooney here. We have a corner down for the Bucs, Carlton Davis, and that means maybe Jamel Dean. At least half the snaps, Mooney's going to be on somebody a lesser. And remember, Sean Murphy Bunting's no longer there; he's in Tennessee. So I'm going to say Mooney. Mooney has good chemistry with Fields, and the blitz is going to come, but on those plays where Fields buys time. There could be a big player too there. Justice Hill, I just don't think he's going to be. He had the 2 touchdowns. He was like 1 yard to carry last week. All right. And then Bialy, Elijah Moore, Roshan Johnson, Justice Hill. I'm going to go with Elijah Moore. He is a part of the offense there. I don't know how high that level goes, but he is a big part of that offense. And I do expect they're going to utilize him heavily as a runner and a receiver. And he's super, super talented. So we're going to go with that. And then let's see here. Gary Outs on Instagram, Pierce or Dylan. I'm going to go with Pierce here. Pierce is going to get rushes and receptions. The matchup isn't great. The offensive line is in shambles, but Pierce is a very good player. We see these guys get it done. And if he gets to the outside, on occasion, he avoids DeForest, Buckner, and Grover Stewart, the 2 defensive tackles, who in my mind are just amazing. But Dylan, I said, he's a declining player. I mean, the first year he was great, and last year it was barely a yard to carry, and he just struggles. I don't know why, I don't know how, but he just looks slow. And I know he's getting the work because Aaron Jones isn't there, but maybe Patrick Taylor's involved a bit too. But yeah, I'm gonna go against Dylan here. And then Adrian, PPR flex, Moss, Atwell, or London. Moss is your safest because I expect 15 carries out of him. I expect 75 yards, and they're playing shotgun, 3 receiver sets. He's room to run, easy run defense. London, if you got a gut feel, go with it. He's not going to have the 0 every week. There's going to be weeks where he gets 8 targets and he goes off for 100 yards. But this seems like a low volume game to me. He'll probably see a lot of the Jair Alexander. Atwell, I loved him last week. I thought that they could definitely get him involved. But the 49ers, the downfield stuff may not have time to develop. And the underneath stuff, those linebackers are so dang fast. So I don't really like Atwell this week, but I get the question. But I go Moss for safety. And if you really want to go boom bust would be London. And let's see what else you got here. And then we had Herbert or Tua. Again, I'm going to go with Herbert there. I love Tua, but Herbert has a phenomenal matchup, and I think they're going to get – and they're not going to try to run too much on them. And then Connor or Kelly. Connor, that's like 80-20 or 70-30. Connor has a great matchup. He's heavily involved. He's off the injury report. Kelly has a nightmare matchup. One more Instagram question for now before I move over. Dave, Kirk or Zach Moss? I think somebody had the same question before. Moss is safer. Moss has a high floor, but I think Christian Kirk has a higher ceiling because he could go off. So it's boom bust. If you want those safe non-PPR 8 points, 6 to 8 points, you go Moss. If you need to risk potential lower game for where you maybe get 14, 15, I think Kirk has that boom bust. The safe play is Moss. Johnny Football, good to see you back. Jared Goff or Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, Goff at home is very, very good, and there's something to be said for that. Trevor Lawrence, though, both teams are at home. Both teams could score. Trevor Lawrence has better overall weapons. Trevor Lawrence is a better overall quarterback. Chris Jones is going to play limited snaps, which will help Trevor Lawrence. If you have a gut on Goff, go with it. Trevor Lawrence, this could be that superstar emerging moment on a big stage where he comes through. I don't think Lawrence has a low floor. I mean, Goff shouldn't either, right? But I'm going to lean Trevor Lawrence 65-35, but I get it. I do love Goff. I have Goff as my QB 12 this week, but I have Lawrence around QB 8. Sam Laporta, Zach Ertz, Cole Kmet. I'm going to go with Cole Kmet. You heard me talk about him a moment ago. Middle of the field, he's the only presence they have, and the Bucs are very attackable there. Laporta did look good in week 1, and I do also like the middle of the field against Seattle, but I think Cole Kmet's going to see more targets. Zach Ertz had a ton of targets. It was sad. He can't run. He couldn't run last year. 5th percentile yards after the catch. And Trey McBride had more yards than Ertz, despite getting out caught like 6-2. It was 23-21 on the yards. Love Zach Ertz. They can't keep going back to him, right? If they do, I just don't get it because there's no yardage there. I'm going to say Cole Kmet. I love Zach Ertz. I hate to talk like that about him, but it is who he is right now. TSB World need a flex. Russell Wilson or Baker Mayfield, and I appreciate you. Thank you for that nice comment. Yeah, Russell Wilson. They're playing Washington. Washington's not a great matchup. Washington has a good front four, a very good pass rush. Russell Wilson's being managed. You notice a lot of short throws last week. That's on film now. I imagine that Washington's going to kind of creep things up a little bit. On the other hand, you got Baker Mayfield. You don't know what you're going to get one week, but the Bears are horrible. And Tampa's not getting a run game. Rashad White can't break tackles. He put all this weight on, so now he's still got the same skinny legs. Now he's got a bigger upper body. But you saw it last week. People are just knocking him in the legs right down. So I think Baker Mayfield because the Bears are just horrible. They get no pass rush. So Mayfield not under pressure. And if the Bears blitz, they're screwed. So I'm going to say Mayfield here. And yeah, I guess that's what we've come to. Johnny Football, Debo, Gabe Davis, Roshan, or Zach Moss. Zach Moss is the safest of this group. All right. Because he's going to get you 15 carries. But I think Debo has a reasonable floor. I think against the Rams, now the Rams don't have much in the way of talent, but we've seen in the past, 49ers always like to attack with Debo underneath against them, and that game plan is kind of there, and when they had talent, they couldn't stop it. So I think Debo has the big upside here, and I think his floor is good enough. Much like Zach Moss, I'm going to say go with Debo here because I think his floor is enough, but his ceiling in this type of matchup, yards after the catch against this young defense, could be great. Shooksan, thank you, man. Appreciate that. Thank you. PPR Flex, Dotson, Nakua, or Shaheed or Moss. Oh, wow. It's a good problem to have. You got a good roster to have those decisions. Keep hearing me talking about Moss and the 15 expected carries we should see from him. Shaheed played like 56% of the snaps. He's so good. When his routes were in all different areas of the field. Now, the game plan was wonderful last week because they decided to not challenge Tennessee on the ground and throw against a team that couldn't stop it. So he was there. The Carolina matchup is good too. So Dotson, overall, some snaps you'll see Patrick Surtain, but a lot he won't. And when he's on Damari Mathis is really good. Now, I don't like the matchup against the 49ers. I mean, Matthew Stafford had a beautiful game in week 1. Matthew Stafford struggles against the 49ers. They just get in his grill and they cause him a lot of problems. I'm going to say Moss is your safest. Moss is by far your safest. The sneaky play is Shaheed. I think Shaheed could have another big game, but there's floor because with the snap share, he's not guaranteed the targets. So Moss is your safest play. If you want to go a little more boom bustish, then you go Shaheed. Instagram will get some questions here. And we got Burrow or Geno Smith. Geno Smith scares me. And he's at Detroit, and he has no offensive tackles. And I know Joe Burrow was bad last week, but the Ravens are without cornerback Marlon Humphrey and safety Marcus Williams. I got to go with Burrow here. And Coach Amador, drop Bateman or pick up Dell or pick up Shaheed. I don't know that Bateman's not going to be a big part of things. His snap share was brutal. I didn't see that coming. I still think Bateman's an excellent player, but Shaheed's going to be a deal there. And if Michael Thomas goes down, he's going to be a bigger deal. So I think right now, in what we know, I think Shaheed's your one. Adele's going to be at best the number 3 at any point in time. You already see Robert Woods is trust underneath. Nico Collins is their alpha. They have a tight end in the middle field, Dalton Schultz, who I don't like, but he's going to take. Those are targets Dell would get. So I think ultimately that's where we're going to look for that one. And Hendershot, Mike Williams, or DJ Moore. You know what? Mike Williams should in this game. The matchup against Tennessee is just pristine. And I just think I don't want to, DJ Moore, I'm creating a case where I think he has a big game, but I think Mike Williams' floor is higher. I think he's going to be seeing significant targets. You can't run on Tennessee. They're going to come out throwing. So I think Mike Williams, DJ Moore, they both have ceilings here. And DJ Moore could go off. I just think you have enough ceiling with Williams that the floor is better, and I would go that route. All right, let's see. GPA, that's a good question. Kelly or Mostert? Well, again, I keep saying Kelly could get 15 carries and 30 yards because Tennessee just does not give up squat on the ground. Mostert has a chance of making a big play. And I'm going to go Mostert 55-45 because even on 9 carries, he could break a 35-yard run. And so that's what I'm going to go to there. Dom, pick 2. Jahan Dotson, Zay Flowers, Tyler Lockett. Oh, man, you good problem to have, too. Zay Flowers is so involved. So we're going to roll. I think they showed us in week 1 they're making him a staple of that offense. So Zay Flowers good there. Between Dotson and Lockett, Geno's now 2 tackles. And he threw for 112 yards last week. And Detroit's going to get after him. Aiden Hutchinson didn't get a sack last week. He was in that backfield. James Houston's a good rusher, too. Love Tyler Lockett. I think the situation's bad, and it's a road game. I'm going to say Jahan Dotson, but I think Lockett could get the big play. So Dotson's safer, but I think if you want to go a little boom busted, Tyler Lockett could, take something off some pressure and get behind the defense. So he's boom bust, but I think Dotson's safer. And Zay Flowers in. Patrick, Kincaid or Musgrave? Yeah, Kincaid, they had that beautiful play they've been working on all training camp, and the offensive line were begging the coaches to run it, and then he tripped on his feet, but he caught a 40-yard pass. that play's out there now. They shouldn't have ran it against the Bears when they were winning so big. They should have saved that play. I still think there's a low volume game, whereas I think the Bills are in a get right spot here at home, coming off an embarrassing loss playing the Raiders. I'm going to say Kincaid here. All right. Big money Joe, need a flex, 12 PPR. Hopkins, Herbert, Collins, or Judy. You know what? Judy's back. He's healthy. A lot of the inside routes against Washington should be available to pass. He's a good outlet against the pass rush. I love Collins. I think Collins is in a great spot here as well because his matchup is good. But I think at this point, if Jerry Judy's healthy, which he is, I just think that he's an integral part of that offense, and I think we're going to see that today. Collins is a very reasonable. Hopkins on the ankle, I just don't know. I just don't know. If his ankle isn't right, he could be a decoy. Maybe he has a big. If your gut says Hopkins is fine, then in that case, Hopkins against the Chargers, and he would do well. I just worry about the ankle. And Herbert, too much of a timeshare. I'm going to say Judy here. That's where I'm going to go. Big Ham, Roshan, or Brian Robinson. So it's all depends on your belief in what Roshan Johnson's role is. Last week, he got most of his work when the game was out of hand. It was earlier he got in, but it was a lot more Khalil Herbert and Deontay Foreman. If you believe Johnson is going to be a staple of that offense, you play him because Tampa Bay is no longer this great defense. They have Vita Vea, but they really don't consistently stop the run. Now, last week, Alexander Madison, the offense in running game is brutal, so I wouldn't put stock in that. But I'm Brian Robinson is safer here. But I think Roshan in PPR has more upside because even if he's that third man rotation, he could see 4 targets. And so Brian Robinson he did get that touchdown pass. It was an accident. It wasn't a planned route. It was literally like the play broke down. Sam Howell was like running and just Robinson are wandering out. And I don't even think that pass was to him. I think the pass to the player behind him. But anyway, that said, Robinson's safer. Johnson is a little more boom bust because we don't know his role yet. Blaine, you want to know Dubs, Nakua, or DJ Moore? All right, I'm going to go DJ Moore here. Like I said, Carlton Davis, the corner, is out for Tampa. They blitz a lot. There are going to be some hot routes. There'll be room to run. And DJ Moore has owned this defense when he's with Carolina and that bad quarterback play the last 4 games. JR, you're welcome. Shannick, start 2, standard. Flowers, Davis, McLaurin, Nico. I'm going to go Flowers and Collins. They both seem to have a strong target share here. McLaurin should see a lot of Patrick Surtain. Gabe Davis, look, love him, but I just really haven't seen it enough. And I think that, again, Stephon Diggs just commands the targets. Gabe could come up with a big play, but just haven't seen enough of it right now. I just think Nico and Flowers have shown us in one game they're going to be primary reads for their quarterbacks. So I think we got to go that. Bialy, this is huge. Foreman is a healthy scratch. So everybody on Roshan Johnson that asked those questions, thank you. And anybody that sees an inactive, please post it. Oh, and I'm not even able to get that because I'm so far down on the screen. Let me just scroll down, see anybody else hit me up here. I got a bunch of them here. Yeah, I'm not even able to see them. So, all right. Anyway, as he's coming through, it's going to be hard to keep up with that. So Foreman, a healthy scratch, that's a big deal. Roshan Johnson, now let's move him up. Let's say he's around running back 35 because I think Herbert still takes the lead, but that's a big deal for Roshan Johnson. So now I could say projection-wise, he probably gets about 35 yards rushing, and he probably catches 3 passes, and that puts him squarely in play. So thank you for telling me that. Ricardo, full PPR, starter sit, drop Hurts, drop Hurts. I think I mean Jalen Hurts, but am I screwing somebody up here? You mean Hurst? Maybe you mean Hayden Hurst, Laporta, or Musgrave. If I'm dropping one of those 3, I would probably be Musgrave. I don't know what his role week to week will be. And when they get back Christian Watson, it's even fewer targets to go to the tight end. And this is a run team. Hurst seems to be like a primary maybe for Bryce Young, and Laporta I think is an integral part of that offense. Joseph, thank you. Dubs or Nico Collins. Oh man, that's a good one too. Dubs, he'll be the number 1 receiver. There may be a high volume game, but he's a good receiver. He already showed chemistry with his quarterback. Collins is going to get targets, but overall, it's very even because Dubs is more or less the alpha for them this week. In what I think they'll be more, they're schemed better. That offense has schemed people open better. So I'm going to say Dubs 55-45, but if you have a gut on Collins, then it's fine because Collins got a bunch of targets and he looks like he's really like breaking out this year. And then Chiggy or Hunter Henry. Man, Chiggy had 2 targets. They missed him on an open touchdown last week. Hunter Henry is game plan specific, middle of the field, tack Philly. They did that. It's 51-49 Chiggy because I think he gets more targets than Hunter Henry. It's going to be week to week with him. We see it. Well, all of a sudden we'll see him like with a 0 out of nowhere, where I think Chiggy had the 0, but I think they're going to get him 4 or 5 targets, and I think he gets it done for you. If you have a gut feel, go with that. Big Ham, also thank you for pointing out the Foreman healthy scratch. Huge news there. It is huge news. My friend Uncle Ted from the RotoWire live show every week, who's on, he's going to love that. He's a Roshan Johnson guy. Jay Bareski, Zay Flowers, or Mike Williams. Can't go wrong with either, but Mike Williams, I think, has a huge upside game in him. D. Koopas, Kelly or Dylan. All right, they both. Dylan hasn't looked good. Kelly has a brutal matchup. But in this case, I am going to say against Atlanta, I'm going to go with Dylan. He has a better chance to score a touchdown, I believe. All right, and then Swole P. Mo, Roshan or Romeo Doubs. Now, Romeo Doubs, I do think is the lead receiver there, and I'm going to go with him because I think his role is very solidified. He showed good chemistry with Jordan Love. Roshan will be splitting it up with Justin Herbert. Joe, all right, playing Shaheed today. Yeah, you know what? Again, 56% of the snaps last week. They went with a pass-heavy approach, but I still think that against Carolina, no J.C. Horn. I think Carolina is good enough against the run that I think we might see a similar game plan. So I think Shaheed, he runs routes everywhere. He's not just that deep threat he was in the first few weeks last when he came to the team in October last year. So I think that Shaheed, you should get at least 40 yards out of him. But I think, with the big play ability, you have upside. So I definitely like playing Shaheed for sure. Tyler, Mixon, Montgomery, Javonte, Kelly, thinking about starting. Again, Kelly just has a brutal. Nobody runs on the Titans, and Josh Kelly won't break that mold. You get 15 carries, he could be as low as 30 yards. I bet the under on Jamal Williams last week against this defense. I'm going to bet the under on Kelly, who's like 50 yards. I love Kelly. I think he's a good player. I liked him last year before he got hurt in week 5. But, so with the two, Mixon, look, he's a compiler. He gets you his points. And I think don't overthink it. Baltimore's not the juggernaut against the run they were. Montgomery, he had a great role. We kind of called that last week for Thursday night. I think his role is scaled back a little bit here. I think Javonte gets a similar workload to Montgomery, and Javonte has a better chance of producing more yards. Mix him Javonte for me. And Johnny Football, thank you again. Bigger role for Roshan. Yeah, 100%. Thank you for adding that. B. Ali, PPR, need one. Roshan, Hill, Taysom Hill. Oh man, I hope, or Elijah Moore. I think which Hill. I know you don't mean Tyreek, so we don't need to worry about that. Elijah Moore is a staple of that offense. We don't know how big his role will be, but they saw in week 1 they want to get him integrated, and I do think he's a big part of what they're going to do. Roshan, he's going to be a factor here, and it's not a bad matchup. And so if you have a gut feel on Roshan, go with it. I'm going to give Elijah Moore the lean because I think there's some big play potential there with his 4.3 speed. And I do think they're figuring out how to learn how to use him. And, but that said, if you have a gut feel on Roshan, 100% go with it. JKM, non-PPR, Monty, Kelly, or Brian Robinson. Oh, that's a good one. Again, you heard me say about Kelly. I love the player, hate the game. Tennessee's just brutal. Montgomery, Seattle's not a bad run defense, especially if they're not stacking the box. Now, I noticed last week against the Rams when the Rams had Akers and they stacked. And I think when they see Montgomery, they're going to stack. So I think Brian Robinson may be your play here. I think Brian, they're playing Denver's. That's not a scary matchup. So I think I would go with that. But it's close. It's like if you have a gut feel on on Monty, go with it. I'm going to go with Brian Robinson slightly. Pablo, Breece Hall or James Cook. I get it. Great situation, right? Cook really looked good against the tough Jets defense. He has a cake matchup against the Raiders, and he's getting like a ton of snaps, way more snaps than Breece Hall. He's being used as a receiver. So I'm gonna go with James Cook, 60 to 40%. If you have a gut feel on Breece Hall, Dallas is gonna overstack the box. So they don't really worry about the quarterback. So I think that we're gonna see that. Back to Insta, RMT, standard, 2 running back in the flex, Pierce, White, Williams, or Ayuk. I think I answered this one, so I'm just going to answer this quickly. I'm going to say Ayuk is your flex, and you're starting are Javonte and Damian Pierce. Coach Amador, I think I answered that for you already. We're picking up Shaheed, Jay Bareski. We said Mike Williams over Zay Flowers, but it's close. Papi Gama, wide receiver 3, Sutton or Zay Jones. The Washington's a good pass rush, and I don't know the downside for Sutton's there. Zay Jones could fall off the game plan a bit, but I think that's a higher scoring game. So the high scoring game gives me Zay Jones 52 to 48%. Brees Hall or Jamal Williams. You know what? I know Dallas is going to stack the box on Brees Hall. Jamal Williams, the matchup itself, not bad. I mean, but Carolina could step up on that. Derek Brown has been a big game wrecker. So I'm going to say Brees Hall. I'm going to go with the better player. I'm going to go with the better player here. Ward Chiropractic, Higbee or Hunter Henry. Henry, great week last week. They attacked the middle of the field's game plan, total game plan. It was a great thing. In Higbee, Seattle looked to take him away. I don't think the 49ers are going to lose sleep over Higbee. I don't think they see him as a big threat to them. I don't think they're going to lock him down with Fred Warner and say goodnight. I think Higbee gets some screens, especially with the pass rush. I think Higbee could be like 6 catches for 30 yards, but that might get it done. Hunter Henry has a better chance of scoring a touchdown. Hunter Henry has a better chance of getting a 0. So Henry's your boom bust play. Higbee's your floor play. Nimble Turtle, Bateman or Lockett. Bateman didn't play hardly any snaps last week, and I don't know that we're going to see more. For that reason, I'm going to go with Lockett. That was very problematic. Big Trusboat, Burrow or Geno Smith. Burrow, 100% on that one. Let me see how I'm doing on Instagram questions, and I have a bunch here. All right, let me see. And hopefully I didn't miss them here. All right, I'm going to scroll back up here, and all right. Hopefully I don't. Yeah, there we go. Good. All right, move back to YouTube and Twitter for a bit. Nicholas needs some up a tight end. Komet or Musgrave. Again, even with the weather, I saw scattered storms. And now it could get crazy, right? If you check the weather, but what I saw was like scattered storms or scattered showers. The only game that had thunderstorm potential was the Kansas City Jacksonville. The other ones were all scattered storms or scattered showers. That's important. So Musgrave had that design play last week that was perfect. They should have saved that for a game that was actually competitive. But I think Komet's their only middle of the field guy they have. And I think that's going to be a big focal point of the offense because Chase Claypool, the receiver, he can't block, and they almost deactivated him. They didn't. But Komet's going to be the guy. Komet's going to get a good number of targets. Musgrave, I think the targets are going to be kind of sporadic. Brock, with Aaron Jones out, when I start Montgomery, Kyron Williams, Zach Moss is my guy here. Moss has a great matchup. And they were playing shotgun and 3 receiver sets, so there's going to be room to run. Zach Moss was 4.8 yards per carry in the 4 games he played for the Colts last year. Better situation this year. Love Zach Moss. 806 Fantasy Sports, Dotson or Zay Flowers. I just think the volume for Zay Flowers we saw last week is a real thing. I think we're going to roll with the volume and say, let's go, right? Eric Royo, yep, appreciate you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you very much again. Need 2 for a flex PPR. Dubs, Flowers, and Algier. So, and you hear me talk all the time. I love Tyler Algier. Love him as a flex all year, and he has more upside than that. But I think realistically, Dubs is like but with Watson out, like he's their receiver. He's like it. Even if it's only 6 or 7 targets, they're going to be high leverage targets. Zay Flowers, the target share was real. The usage was real. They got him underneath. They ran him on an over route. So I just think you go with the receivers here in PPR. Algier is always going to be a solid play, but since you have 2 really good options and Dubs is off the injury report, I think we look at that. And then Ryan, I think we're going to say the same thing with Dubs here. Elijah Moore, I love what they're doing with him, and they're going to make him a part of that offense. But I think Romeo Doubs is like their clear number 1 while Watson's out, and I just think there's something to be said for that. We roll there. And then, Collins or Elijah Moore. You know what? And I think Collins, I think that no corners in Indy. Their corners from last year are gone. They're terrible. The offensive line for Texans is decimated down 4, but we saw last week Stroud could buy time and get out. So I think Collins is going to be your play. He has a higher floor than Moore, and I think they have comparable ceilings. Travis, Christian Kirk, Garrett Wilson, or Dubs. I know Garrett Wilson. Why we got to put him in this mix, right? It's horrible. And wow, Dubs has the safest floor of this group. Wilson is still a superstar. Zach Wilson completely drags him. I think that said, Wilson has a boom bust. Christian Kirk, I think they're going to use him more this week. You got a real tough one there. I last week he only had a couple looks at that. It was like no usage. But I do think against Kansas City, you got to go to the middle of the field more. And so I think of all these players, though, Dubs is the safest. And then I think Wilson's your boom bust play. Kirk's a good play, but I just don't know what to do with it. It just don't. So I'm going to have to say Dubs for safe, Wilson for boom bust. See if I can get a few. Drake London started today. Chris Miller. It's all on your gut. He had 1 target last week, played 90% of the snaps. Yeah, I mean, against Green Bay, they could just run all day. I don't think the game gets out of hand in any direction. So it's all gut call. I mean, I'm going to project him for 4 catches for 40 yards. That's where I'm projecting him. I can't project him higher because I don't know if he's even going to get the 4 targets. So based on kind of go with that as a baseline 4 for 40. And if that fits into your starting plan, then work that. Johnny Goose, Tyler Algier, Montgomery. I'm going to say Algier here. He does have a role. Montgomery, I saw last week. Seattle did when the dominant running back came in that was going to run the ball. They removed Bobby Wagner up and they stopped the run. So I'm going to say Algier there. And then Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. You know what? This Big Truz vote. I'm going to just say Trevor Lawrence right now, he should be in a high scoring game. Fields is going to be volatile here. Fields has that, and I think Fields could really have a big day here. I think with the blitz he's going to see and a missing corner, I think he could go off. But what we've seen right now, there's no reason to be nervous. And you have Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence is just safer. So if you need a 30-point game out of your quarterback, then you got to go with Fields and risk the low score. But if you need 22, 23, then Lawrence is your guy. Can I trust Debo? Yes. And, Debo was involved. The game got out of hand. Debo was involved early last week. He's going to get his 8 to 9 touches. But against the Rams, that could get him to 90 yards. So I think you can trust him. All right, let's see what else we got here. Coach Amador, Nakua, or Burks. I'm going to go with Burks here. Nakua has a horrific matchup. DeAndre Hopkins has the ankle. He's going to play, but Burks should see more targets. I'm going to go that route. RMT, Jamal Williams versus Rachaad White. Oh, that's a tough one now. You know what? I think we're going to go with Rachaad White. The Bears are bad. I don't think the Bears can slow them down. Let's go with Rachaad White there. Williams, again, with Derek Brown on the inside for Carolina, I think that's a tougher matchup for him. Eddie, Dubs or Zach Moss. Oh, that's a good one. Zach Moss, they're both going to be used very well here. I think Zach Moss has an easy matchup, though, against Houston. This is close. It's like 51-49. I'm going to go Zach Moss. If your gut says Dobbs, go. They're both very good plays, and they both could do very well here. I think Moss has a more secure floor here. Spencer, is there a world where you start A.J. Dillon over Najee Harris, Rachaad White? I don't think this week. Dillon just didn't look good. The last 2 years, his first year, he was excellent. And then each time since, he's gotten worse and worse. And I know he's the lead guy. He just has no pop anymore. So Najee didn't play enough last week. It was a weird game, but he looked fine when he was out there. And Rachaad White is an easy matchup. So I'm gonna roll with that. And the Browns defense, they're gonna be great against the pass. But we saw last week, they're not as bad against the run as they were last year, but they still have a deficiency. And Pittsburgh's gonna have to come out running the ball. They can't come out and say, Kenny Pickett, you're launching, because he's gonna get crushed back there. Mordenheim. Puka or Rachaad White. Again, Puka is just a horrific matchup. If he tries to get on the linebackers, he gets Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. It's not Bobby Wagner. And 49ers now know they want to use him. I'm going to say Rachaad White safer and probably has as much ceiling. Eric, one more. Dobbs, Gabe Davis, or Atwell. I'm going to go with Dobbs. The safe, secure role here. Gabe Davis is your boom bust play. Atwell, I kind of predicted not enough. I didn't predict hard enough on him. I knew that they'd get him into space and they would be able to manipulate his speed against Seattle. And I didn't come out strongly enough. But the 49ers are a different ball game. They're fast on defense. And I don't think Matthew Stafford, who has not done well against his defense, is going to do great here. So I'm going to say with Dobbs here. But if you want that boom bust play, it's Gabe Davis. This would be the week against the Raiders where he could go off. But again, it could just be like another 3 for 30 and be done. Dobbs probably has a really high floor here. JKM, non-PPR, Ayuk or Garrett Wilson. I got to go Ayuk. His matchup is fine. And Garrett Wilson, we got to worry about Dallas and Zach Wilson. And unfortunately, I love Garrett Wilson, but I can't really. It's like 60-40. It's not even like super close. Unfortunately, I wish it was your question's great. So hard to, right? You had to ask the question because it's Garrett Wilson, right? We love him. I hope they bring a quarterback in this week. Jay Boreski, Flowers or Mike Williams? We're going to go with Mike Williams. They both have a great role, but it's a great matchup for Williams. Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert. Lamar Jackson, 1 or fewer touchdowns in 9 of his last 10 starts, and the Bengals have had his number. They blitz him, and he doesn't do well against the blitz, and they're down 2 linemen. Justin Herbert in this one for me. Francisco, good morning. Pickens or Breece Hall? You know what? We're going to go with Breece Hall because Breece Hall could break off along with Pickens. That's going to be rough against Cleveland. That's going to be a rough matchup. Jay Glez, morning. Godwin, Pittman, or Zay Jones? Oh, man. couple safeties down in Houston. Pittman had a perfectly blocked screen, but he caught a ton of passes. Godwin has a great matchup against the Bears. I'm going to move Zay Jones out of this one because he's like the fourth option in the offense that we did great last week. I'm going to say Godwin has a better floor. Godwin should catch 6-7 passes this week because the Bears can't get pressure, and that's going to be huge for Mayfield. I'm going to say Godwin 55 to 40 over Pittman. Again, that Pittman had that great touchdown screen and all his catches came in the second half. But if this game is low scoring, they don't have to throw. They might not throw as much. And I answered that one. Coach Amador Burks over Nakua. I think I answered that. And Mark Andrews is playing for Lucky. And Gary Ouch, Pierce or Dillon? I'm going to go with Pierce. I mentioned you hear me talking about Dillon. Not really excited about the way he's been looking. Kevin, PPR in your flex. Cortland Sutton, Kendrick Bourne, or Kelly. You know what? Kendrick Bourne, we just never know. We've seen it before. Huge game, and then he gets 2 snaps the next week. I can't guarantee he's going to be a part of the game plan. Last week, it was very specific. Middle of the field, attack on Philly. He was part of that plan. I don't know that he is this week. Cortland Sutton, we know, will be a big part of the game plan. Now, it may be tough with the pass rush, but I think he has a stable floor here. Even with Judy back, Josh Kelly is just a rough matchup. It's because nobody runs on Tennessee, and I don't think he's going to break the mold for us. So I'm going to go with Sutton. If you have a gut feel on Bourne, go with it because if Bourne plays and he's used well, he can be very dangerous. We've seen it too many times before. He doesn't play the next week for whatever reason. Michael, Mostert, Sutton, Kelly, or Algier. All right, you heard me say about Kelly in the matchup. Mostert they figured out in the second half he really shouldn't get more than 10 carries in a game, and that's a problem. And New England's good against the run. I'm going to say Sutton and Algier here. And then Max, James Cook. Let me just see where we're at question-wise. All right, I think we're at the point now where I got to go pretty quick on these because we got to get through. Instagram, let me see if I can quickly do some rapid fire and close that out and then get the rest of YouTube. T. Higgins or CeeDee Lamb? CeeDee Lamb, higher floor. Higgins is higher ceiling, lower floor. I would probably lean Higgins in this game, but CeeDee Lamb is way safer. I answered that one. And Gus or Hill? Gus is Hill is a 2 touchdowns. It was 1 yard a carry. Gus is more sustaining runner. Najee or Monty? Najee easily here. He looked good, but he'll get more snaps this week. Mike Williams or DJ Moore? Williams is safer. Gus or Hill? We said Gus again. Dobbs or Judy? They both have solid roles, but Judy's healthy and back. I'm going to go with Moss or Roshan. I love Moss this week. It's a great matchup for him. I'm going to go with Moss, although Roshan, I understand it. Godwin, Pittman, or Zay Jones. I may have answered this, so I'm going to go with Godwin there. Jackson or Herbert. We went with Herbert. Flowers or Mike Williams. Mike Williams. Najee we went with. And let's see on Instagram. All right. Shaheed, Dubs, or Kelly. Dubs is safer. Shaheed is more boom bust. Judy or Dubs are going with Judy. All right. And if anybody else on Instagram wants to come over to RotoWire YouTube, come on over. And Nakua, I project for 25 yards against the 49ers. So that's about. If you're on Instagram, come on over to RotoWire YouTube. I'm finish up there. All right. Let's finish this out. All right. So, Kevin. We're going to go a little faster these because of time. Lamar, Tua. We're going to go Tua. Lamar struggled against Bengals. AJ, Dillon, or Kelly. Dillon has a better chance of scoring a touchdown. Burks or London. Burks, I think, is going to be more involved this week. I'm going to go Burks. And the injury to DeAndre Hopkins makes me think there. Gano or Patterson. Kicker questions. I'm terrible, but if the guy is hurt, go with the other guy. I'm terrible on kickers. To me, it's all luck, and I'm terrible. I'm not lucky. I just analyze. I'm sorry. I'm not being a jerk when I say that. Kickers, I'll get it wrong every time. Puka, Brian Robinson, or London. Oh, man. Your boom bust play is London, but I think Robinson's your safest one. I think that's the safe one to be there. Puka has a rough matchup. Brian Wilson or Waddle here. I love Garrett Wilson, but Waddle should be have room to run. Focus on Hill. Valentino, Puka, Dobbs, or Sutton. Dobbs is the safest of them all. And then Dotson, Bourne, or JSN. I think Dotson sees a lot of time on Jamari Mathis. I think Surtain will be a little bit more on McLaurin. So I'm going to go with Dotson. Bourne, I just never always getting snaps. Peter Rivera, what do you got? Logan Thomas, you know what? Logan Thomas had 8 targets last week. I think he's real in terms of he has a way higher floor than Chiggy, and Logan could score. He's a big dude in the red zone. Love Chiggy, but I think Logan's role right now is you want to play him. If you want to roll the dice for an upside game, then maybe Chiggy, but I think it's going to be Logan. All right, Colin, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Elijah Moore, Davis, Jahan, or London, pick 2. Christian Kirk should be more involved this game. And so I'm going to go Christian Kirk, and I'm going to go Dotson. Now, if you want an upside play and you want to sit one, London would have more upside than Dotson. Dotson's your safer, reliable play. Kirk and Dotson, but if you want upside, London instead of Dotson. Ricardo, full PPR. Hurts, Laporta, and Musgrave. Hurst. So you need to sit. All right, Hayden Hurst had a bunch of targets last week. And I think it's going to continue. Bryce Young's that some rookie quarterbacks are middle of the field guys. To me, he looked like a middle of the field guy. And I'm going to try to set this real quick while I'm talking to you. And then Chill, you're next. A lot of injuries today. Ingram, Curtis. I'm getting lost at Slayton or Roshan. Curtis Samuel, probably. Evan Ingram. I think he has a pretty stable role in the offense, but I think Roshan Johnson is one to consider because he's apparently going to have, obviously with Deontay Foreman out, he's going to have a little bit more of a role here. So I would definitely think about Roshan, but I think Ingram is a safe play for you. Alex, PPR, DJ Moore, Pickens, or Herbert. I do see Moore bouncing back 4 good games in a row against this Tampa Bay defense when he was with Carolina and had bad quarterback play. So I think we definitely look at that as DJ Moore as your play there. Gus, Roshan, or Kyron. I'm going to go Roshan here. Kyron is a horrific matchup. Last week, Seattle, when Kyron Williams on the field, they went nickel or dime. They didn't care about him. Roshan has an easier matchup here. Eric, Dalvin, Samaje, Roshan, or Warren. All right, so let's see here. Dalvin should get some dump off passes. P. Ryan, it's not a very good matchup. Roshan is going to be involved here. Jalen Warren, snap share will worry me here in this Cleveland game. I'm going to go Dalvin Cook and Roshan. Gus, Roshan the number 2. Yep. Eric, good morning. Garrett Wilson or Kendrick Bourne. Matt, I get it, Matt. Totally get it. Again, Kendrick Bourne, we don't know. He could see 2 snaps, and it's happened before. Big game, then we don't see him for a month. I got to say Garrett Wilson's got to get enough targets to cash here. If you lose out on that one, you can't lose sleep over it. It's got to be Garrett Wilson. Great question. KJ Frederick, second Herbert and Keenan Allen. Do I go triple sack with Kelly or play Algier? Kelly just has a nightmarish matchup. Algier has a good matchup. And even if Algier gets 8 carries to 15 for Kelly, Algier could still outplay him. And Algier catches the ball too. Trone Force. Last week, I was Montgomery over Gibbs. I called out the game script. I explained that in the game script, it would be the full run because Chris Jones was out and Dan Campbell, it was like clockwork to me. It's like, oh yeah, well, we're running the ball because they can't stop the run. We're going to shorten the game. Every other week is going to be Gibbs over Montgomery, I think, unless I see a game script, and I don't see that this week. So yeah, great question. But yes, it was a 1-week thing. I'm very, very dialed in on what potential game script. I'm wrong sometimes, but I try to see what the coaches see. Eddie, Richardson or Fields. I'm going to go Fields here. I don't think anybody knew that they were going to play shotgun, 3 receiver sets. I think they blindsided him. Richardson was fine. But Justin Fields has the blitz today. He's going to get big runs because of that. And they're missing Carlton Davis. So I'm going to go there. Mace, Deshaun Watson, or probably Geno, you mean? I'm going to go with Watson here. I think Geno is in trouble. No offensive tackles. And CU. Let's see here. So did AJ Terry. Win or lose the trade. Let's see. No, I think that was a smart trade. I think nice move on that. And then Trone Force, Jamal or Dubs. I'm going to go with Dubs. Bigger part of the offense. Jamal Williams has a tougher matchup, and I know he's going to get the work, but I think Dubs is going to see enough targets to be good there. On Swift, I think they're not going to give him anywhere close to the work because they want to keep him for the playoffs, but I think he showed him enough that he's an integral part of the offense. I think keep him right now. Goff or Brock Purdy. Goff at home was like unstoppable last year, and I think it continues against Seattle here. Purdy is always a good play, but if the 49ers get out to a lead running the ball, they may not have to pass. Go Goff. Sohan Patel. Kelly, Connor, Rashad White. Connor and Rashad White. Kelly has a nightmare matchup. Cook or Breece Hall. The snap share was way in favor of Cook, but if Dallas is going to stack the box because not respecting the quarterback, I got to go Breece Hall could break one. I answered that one for you. Good morning, Andrea. Good morning. Connor or Montgomery? Connor. Connor looked great last week. The injury, I think, was not an injury. I think they're going to put him on an injury report every week to rest him so he can get through the season. Yeah, but he's a solid matchup. Nico or Shaheed. Nico is safer, double-digit targets last week. Shaheed has that big play upside. So you have that. And in this matchup, he totally could hit it. Nico's way safer. But if you want boom bust, then Shaheed. But I love both players. Lockett or Zay Jones. Oh, man. The two tackles being up for Seattle, it's a tough one. I think the Jacksonville's higher scoring game, Zay Jones. Kirk, Drake, London, JSN, Dotson, or Roshan. Kirk. Kirk should be more involved, higher scoring game. Joshua, JSN, or Akers. Akers is going to be okay down the road. The 49ers are not going to let him run much, I don't think. JSN, I don't know how many targets he gets, but I think Akers is scary today. I like him later, but I'm going to go JSN, but it's 51 to 49%. If you have a gut feel, go with it. Brandon Ayuk or Garrett Wilson. Got to go Ayuk. Dallas probably going to blitz the heck out of, and they probably even double Garrett Wilson. So I'm going to go with Ayuk. Ayuk or Garrett, we went that. Good. Good morning, Alex. Glad you're here. Yay. All right. Eddie, Brees Hall, Zach Moss, Pickens are born. I'm going to go with Zach Moss. I think easy matchup, heavy workload. Did great down the stretch last year. Eddie, you're welcome. Thank you. Chris Williams, Giants or Denver defense. I got to go with the Giants here. Arizona is just, they're a mess. And the Giants are coming off a big loss. They're going to be ready to play today. Johnny, Aaron Jones, and Christian Watson next. Thank you. Alex, Miles Sanders or Kelly? Miles Sanders. Kelly has a brutal matchup. Tom, Flex, Wilson, Pittman, Connor, Algier, or Pierce. I'm going to go Connor. He's a big part of that offense. This week, I think, against the Giants, he's going to be relevant for all four quarters. And if it's as a runner or receiver, he's going to be my guy there. I think he has high floor, reasonable upside. You could consider Pittman there. You definitely can consider Pittman there because he was a big part of that. He didn't catch a pass till the second half, but then he caught like 8 of them. But and Algier is always a good play. But I'm going to say James Conner, and I'm a Conner apologist, so take that for what it's worth. So if you do like Pittman better, wink that way. Only Eddie, DJ Moore, Godwin, Justice Hill. Moore has just owned Tampa Bay with bad quarterbacks, and I love Godwin here too. Godwin's a safer floor. If you want that floor play, 10 points, 12 points, Godwin. If you need to hit 20, 25, Moore has that ability to get to a crazy game because of the blitz and Carlton Davis out. So look at that. Omar, Shaheed, Dubs, or Kelly. I think we said that before for somebody. Dubs is the safe play. Shaheed is your boom bust. Rob, Tony, or Dotson. I think they're going to get Tony back involved, but his snaps are going to be somewhat limited. Dotson's going to see some snaps on Patrick Surtain. That's not good. Oh my God. And if Denver gets pressure, Sam Howell, man, he looks like he's trouble when he's under pressure. I'm going to say Tony here, 52 to 48%. If you have a gut feel, go with it. Aiden, Flex, Brees Hall, Jerry Judy, Tyler Algier, PPR. You know what? PPR is going to send me to Judy. They waited till he's healthy. They've got to use him. Algiers and Hall are very nice options. I think Judy in the PPR tilts it for me. Denver defense against Washington, Trey, or Miami against New England. I'm going to go with Denver here. Sam Howell just looks he just looks for trouble, and he's going to find it. Agastaya, Hopkins, Metcalf, Cooper, Pittman. Since Cooper isn't 100%, we don't know if he's playing or not. That's the only reason we'll move him out of this. Pittman, because of the target share last week, I imagine he gets enough to carry. Hopkins, I'm scared of the ankle, and I don't know if he's going to be a decoy. If you're not worried about it, start him. Otherwise, I'm starting Metcalf and Pittman. But if you think Hopkins is going to be fine on the ankle, then you go with Hopkins and Pittman. Otherwise, Metcalf. EJ Music, good morning to you. Dynasty, 2 receivers. Amon-Ra, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk. Flex is filled with Chubb. So you need 2 of these. Oh, wow. The middle of the field is like an open valley against Seattle. So Amon-Ra St. Brown's in a great spot. Keenan Allen is against a defense that can't stop the pass at all, but they stuff the run. So I think there's big volume there. Very hard to ever sit Ayuk, but I just think the volume that St. Brown and Allen are going to see can be very, very high this week. Whereas if the game gets out of hand early and Ayuk hadn't already scored, that's the only reason I'm sitting him. Tyler, ask again if you didn't get your answer. Okay. Dobbs or Hopkins. I don't trust Hopkins' ankle. If you do start him, I don't trust his ankle because he missed a whole week of practice and he's losing speed as he ages anyway. I'm going to go with Dubs. But if you think Hopkins is fine, then go with him. I don't think he is. Ray, Monty at the Seahawks, Jamal, Joshua Kelly, A.J. Dillon. Oh, man, that's a good situation to have here. I'm going to go with Monty here. Williams, I think Derek Brown, tough defensive. Josh Kelly has a nightmare matchup. A.J., you know what? Let's go A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon. He could score. He has a better chance of scoring than the rest of them. A.J. Dillon's the one here. Alex, Michael Thomas or John Dodson? Michael Thomas is healthy. He looked good last week. This J.C. Horn's out. We're going to go with Michael Thomas. I love Dotson's talent, but I think Michael Thomas is going to continue to produce here. Julian, 1-1. Roshan, Zay, and Chris Godwin for sure for floor. Zay Jones may be the fifth option, might be a higher scoring game. Roshan's going to have a role here, I think, and Tampa Bay is not scary. You know what? I'm going to say 51-49 Roshan over Zay Jones, but if you got a gut feel on Zay, that's fine. I think Roshan and Godwin. Godwin for sure, though. Scott, Monty or James Cook? James Cook, he looked really good last week. Against a really tough defense. The defense is much easier this week. We're going to go James Cook. Pickett or Howell? Oh, man. Pickett's going to be in a world of hurt. They're down Deontay Johnson. That pass rush is real. The press corners. But yet, Howell gets Washington. I think Howell has a better chance to run. 51-49 Howell. I answered that one already. Tyler, no worries, man. Just hopefully you ask it again if I can get you. Lee. Christian Watson next week, maybe, hopefully. It sounds he got back to unlimited practice. I think you got a 65% chance he's back next week. Did that one. Oh, we got spamming questions here. Look at that. We got somebody asked the same question 10 times. Luis, do you trade Drake London for Goff and a super flex? Yes, you need quarterbacks. Quarterbacks get Drake London may get going, but right now, don't know how that's going to happen soon with the running game. They use too much. London, Zay Jones, JSN, or Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore should see a significant role in the offense. I think he has the best chance of a floor game here. Your boom bust play is London, Delroy, Flowers, Nico, Shaheed, or DJ Moore. I'm going to put DJ Moore as your boom bust play because I think he could go off against Tampa. But your floor play, you got Collins and Flowers are both going to see a lot of targets. But I think Zay Flowers would be the best floor play of those. They're all good options. Boom bust Moore, floor play Zay Flowers. Super CNB Challenger, sit one. Sanders, Monty, or Brees Hall. It's hard to sit Brees Hall knowing even though Dell's going to stack the box, he could break off long runs. So I'm going to sit Monty here. Sanders should get volume. Broncos, Browns, Giants, Bucks, D. Broncos, D. Oh, man, no. I can't sit the Browns. The Browns are like a must start unless they're playing like the Chiefs. I'm going to go with the Browns because that pass rush and the corners. J&K, London Moore or Bourne. If it's DJ Moore, he's the number one here. Bourne, I'm just worried he doesn't get snaps. We've seen it. It's unfortunate. I don't know what to do with him. I just don't know that Bill Belichick's going to play him 2 weeks in a row. So DJ Moore would be your play here. JSN or Zay Jones. I'm going to go Zay Jones. I think this game, they're going to have to throw a lot more against Kansas City. JSN, I just don't know how many targets he gets. And the offensive tackles are out. Douglas, London, Zay Jones. I feel like I answered that already. Tua or Fields? Tua safer. Fields has, and I know Tua has a 466-yard game, but they're playing Belichick. So I think the upside may not be what Fields is. If you need the boom bust, if you need a 30-point game, it's Fields. If you need 20 and be safe, it's Tua because if Fields has a bad game, that could be problematic. But that rushing floor is so good. I'm gonna go Fields here though. Luis, do you trade London for God? We answered that already. ETN safely. Yeah, definitely. And Chris Jones won't be a full-time player anyway, so that won't be a problem. Chris Cooper, questionable. Pick him from waivers. You put Sky Moore, Antonio Gibson, Higbee. You know what? We all thought that Gibson got benched after the fumble last week. It was actually game script. He was in later in the game. I think Gibson's going to be a part of that offense. I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson there. And then I see repeat questions. Yeah, again, if you can get a quarterback in a super flex, right now, Drake London, it could have turned around, yes. That offense tells me it's probably not. He'll have a couple of good weeks. I just don't think it's enough. You're going to ask yourself every week, do I start Drake London? So take the quarterback. Flowers easily over Puka. Not worried that Andrews is in. All right, good. We got a bunch of spam here. D-Hopper, Mike Williams. Mike Williams, he's healthy. He has an easy matchup. Ray, Start 2 running backs in the flex. Pierce, Dillon, Kelly, Reed, or Bateman. You know what? We're going to go with Pierce. The matchup isn't great, but he's going to get volume. Admiral, Michael Thomas, or drop Kadarius Toney to stream Romeo Dobbs. You know, Michael Thomas looked good last week. Play him. Play him while you got him. Craft Keepers, Zay Jones, Judy, McLaurin. You know what? Judy's healthy. He's back. He's supposed to be an integral part of the offense. I think you go that route. McLaurin's going to see quite a bit of Patrick Surtain. That gets me nervous. Won't be every snap. Melly Matrix, 6 points. Lamar, Goff, Richardson, or Purdy need one. Goff at home has been like unstoppable since last year. And at Seattle, I don't see them putting up a whole lot of resistance. Richardson looked good, but I think that Houston's defense is going to be very aggressive at him. Purdy, if they get out to a big lead running the ball, they may not have to throw. And Lamar, 0 or 1 touchdowns, 9 of his last 10 games. And the Bengals blitz him a lot, and he's without 2 linemen. I'm going to say Goff is your safest play. If you really need boom bust swing for defense, then Lamar, but I'm going to probably start Goff here. All right. Thomas, McLaurin, or Dobbs. We're going with Thomas. He's healthy and he's a big part of that offense right now, it looks like. Ray, Washington. I'm going to stream Washington. Tampa, I know they get the Bears, but they're missing Carlton Davis. And I think they might, believe it or not, look past the Bears. They should, but I think they will. Delroy, Freiermuth, P. Ryan, Atwell, or Juwan Johnson. Well, Freiermuth's matchup eases from last week. I'm going to go Freiermuth. Answer that one. Jimmy, London, Kendrick, Bourne, or Sutton. Sutton's the safest. London is your boom bust play. So if you want to go boom bust, it's London. If you want to go safe, it's Sutton. All right. Somebody being rude. Dog days. James Cook easily over Joshua Kelly because of the matchup, and Cook looked good in a bad matchup last week. Kevon, Ayuk, Evans, or McLaurin? Evans and Ayuk are close. Evans has a really easy matchup. I'm going to lean Evans, but Ayuk could have upside. McLaurin, I'm worried about because of the matchup. Fields or Daniel Jones? We are going to go with Fields there. Fields, they both are going to run, but I Fields is going to have opportunity as a blitz for a big one. Gus Edwards, Andrea. Dillon has just not looked good. Edwards should be 5 yards to carry. Major, you've got Mostert, Herbert, Kyron Williams, or Justice Hill. Bad matchup for Kyron. Justice Hill had 1 yard per carry last week. I know he scored twice, but 1 yard per carry is 1 yard per carry. Mostert's getting about 10 carries. I'm going to give Mostert the nod, though, because Khalil Herbert is scaring me with Roshan Johnson, how much work he might get. But Herbert, yeah, I'm going to go with Mostert. Rojo against Tampa. Rojo is the only Rojo I know is Ronald Jones. He's suspended, but Roshan Johnson. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Rojo's all right. Jane or Dalvin Cook. You know what? Dalvin Cook's going to have a lot of pressure against Dallas. I'm going to say Roshan Johnson there. Smuggy, Ayuk, Keenan Allen, Garrett Wilson. You know what? I hate sitting Garrett Wilson, but Ayuk looks fantastic, and Keenan Allen should see a ton of targets against a pass funnel D. God, I hate sitting Garrett Wilson, but I would. Courtney, flex. Godwin. I like Godwin over Jamal Williams. The Bears have no pass rush. They have an injury in the secondary. I think Godwin has a much higher floor, and he has a better ceiling. I'm going to go with Godwin. Good question. Henry, McLaurin, or Nico Collins? I'm going to go with Nico Collins. He seems to be the targeted guy, double-digit targets. McLaurin's going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain, not liking that. Official MH Weapon Balance Council. What's up? First timer. Glad you're here. Dillon over Harris. I can't do it. Dillon is like 1 yard to carry last week. He's gotten worse since his rookie year every year. It's not been good. He just doesn't look good. He has no explosiveness. Harris didn't get enough work last week, but he looked good when he was on the field, and they're going to need him this week against Cleveland. Gabe Davis or Puka? Puka is a terrible matchup. Gabe Davis is an easy matchup. I'm going to go to that. Kevin, I'm going to go Dave Davis. Kevin, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Joshua, Judy, or I'm going to go Judy over all of them here. Judy's back and he's healthy. They're going to use him. Johan, Kelly, or Pierce. I'm going to go with Pierce. Kelly has a nightmare matchup. G Money, haven't seen you in a while. Glad you're here. Pickens, Pacheco, Zay Jones. You know what? Pacheco is going to be needed. Edwards-Helaire, I don't think is going to play. I didn't see the inactives. I've been doing the show, but I know they brought up a practice squad guy. And Pickens is going to have a really rugged matchup here between the pass rush and the press man. I'm going to go Pacheco there. And then sit one, Hall, Cook, or Zay Jones. Love James Cook. Hall and Jones are close, but Hall could break the long play. Zay Jones maybe in a higher scoring game. I think Zay Jones is safer. I think Brees Hall's your boom bust. So I'm starting James Cook. If I want safe in about 10 points, I'm going with Hall. But if I need it's like 4 or 15, then maybe it's Zay Jones. I'm going to probably lean Brees Hall on that, though. James, P. Ryan or Gus the Bus. I do like Gus Edwards. I mean, I know he had 8 carries last week, but I think with a game plan week out, I think he's going to be fine here, and he has a chance to score. I do like Gus Edwards here. DJ Moore easily. Kelly is a nightmare matchup. DJ Moore should be fine this week. The Tampa's on the corner. Big Money Joe. Need a flex Algier, Javante, or Delson. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that. Dalvin Cook, probably Dalvin Cook. We go with Algier there. He has a sturdy role each week. Ian, Hopkins, Dubs, or Tony. I don't think Hopkins is 100%. If you think he is, start him. I don't think he is. I think Dubs is the safest play of these all. Tony could get a big play or two. I still think his snaps are going to be limited. I'm going to go with Dubs here. Musgraver and Njoku. I do think Njoku is going to be needed against Pittsburgh in the middle of the field. Both are good plays. I like Njoku a bit better. Lauren, all right, glad you're here. Pacheco, I like Pacheco a good deal better. I don't think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to play. They brought up LaMichael P. Ryan from the press because CEH is sick. Dylan just doesn't get yards. He hasn't looked good since his rookie year. And last year was like a yard per carry against the Bears. That was rough. So I'm going to go Pacheco. I love him here. Big Money Joe. Oh, and by the way, Pacheco had 4 targets last week. Algier, Javante, I think I answered that one for you already. All right, I got to get out of here. I'm going to quick stop. I'm going to go by way backwards to King Trill. I'm going to get out so I know this is my last one. Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's a ton here. All right, CEH is playing, but I thank you for adding that. That helps. But I still think that great play there. Pitts or Hayden Hurst. Hurst is safer. Pitts has a higher ceiling. So if you want safe, take Hurst. Boom bust, go Pitts. Aaron Murphy. Godwin, Puka, and anybody asking a question now, I got to get out. So yeah, thank you, Ty. I no more questions after that one. I got to get to the games. But Godwin, Puka, or Kelly, Godwin easily. I think he's gonna have a good floor. Ian, DJ Moore, or D Hop. DJ Moore, I expect to have a better game this week. He's owned Tampa. D Hop, I don't think he's 100%. Mostert or Kelly. Kelly has a nightmare matchup. I'm going Mostert. Andrea, have a good day. It's popping up here. Let me see where that go. Pop up in my here, Andrea. Adil, Hopkins, Algier, DJ Moore. I don't trust Hopkins' ankle, so I'm starting Algier and Moore. If you think Hopkins will be 100% and can run at his full functionality, I sit Algier over him. Brady, Atwell, Brian Robinson, Pickens. You know what? Atwell has a real bad matchup. The 49ers, I loved him last week. Don't love him this week. I'm going to go with Pickens and Robinson. Henry, Sutton, Puka, McLaurin. I'm going to go with McLaurin and Sutton. Puka has a terrible matchup. And Ray, I'm going to go with Roshan if you don't trust Cooper not to play. Courtney, we want Godwin over Williams. Zoom, Kyron Williams, because I don't know if Kendrick Bourne, he may see snaps because somebody has a big game that we don't see him for a month. I'm just nervous that Justice Hill, I just think Williams probably has a little better in the passing game. Noah, London, JSN, or Sky Moore. I'm going to go Drake London there. Believe it or not, I'm going to go back to Drake London here. I think that he gets enough targets. 4 or 5 targets. I think he outscores all those guys. Chris, Giants or Denver? You know what? It's 50-50. I'm going to say Giants on that because they probably play with a lead here, and that would help. And Courtney, I got you there already. Admiral, you're welcome. Sung, Drake London or Allen Robinson. Robinson's going to get targets this week. Drake London, your boom bust play. Allen Robinson should get you 7 or 8 points in a PPR this week, so he's safe. But otherwise, you want boom bust is Drake London. James Fry. I'm going to go Fryermuth over Okonkwo. Easier matchup this week. Craft Keepers, we're going with Judy over those. Chris, if you on Cooper, if you don't trust them right now of this group, I'd go with Gibson. I would try to get somebody from one of the other Monday night. There's 2 Monday night games. Get somebody like Donovan Peoples-Jones and maybe try that. But otherwise, it'd have to be Gibson right now. Noah, CMC, automatic Gibbs. The first 3. You're definitely playing the first 3. Gibbs, Josh Jacobs, who's the third one? Montgomery over Mostert, I think here. Montgomery should see enough work to get by. Ray, Metcalf versus Lions or Christian Kirk versus Chiefs. I'm gonna go with Christian Kirk. Both tackles are down for the Seahawks. And I think Metcalf's not gonna get anything downfield. Keith, all right. Tony, I'm gonna go Tony over into Nakua. I think they're gonna get him back involved. Burks or MV. I'm going to go with Burks. I think they get him back involved this week too. Flowers or ETN. You know what? I'm going to go with ETN. I think that the Bengals could prepare a bit for Flowers. They finally saw what he did. ETN is like a big part of that offense. Janky, I'm going to go DJ Moore over Garrett Wilson. I hate to say it, but Moore's owned that defense. And then Ian, we're going to go with DJ Moore over that group. Elliot, we're going to go with Shaheed over Bourne. I don't know what his snapshot's going to be. Guy. Mike Williams. We're going with Mike Williams, and we're going with James Conner there for workload and upside potential. I'm going to go Flowers over Algier because his role looked really strong. Hurst or Muckstrip, we're going with Hurst. I think his role is more solidified. Hall or Sanders. Sanders should have a heavier workload. DJ Moore over Kelly, and I think hopefully we're caught up here. Adam, if I didn't answer it, Mike, I think I got the rest of these, so I think we're good here. Some people ask questions after I was kind of done here. Let me just see if I can get into a couple of my. All right, I'm going to do a couple, and I got to get out. All right, Abraham, Watson or Richardson. You know what? Richardson is going to have a little different defense this week. They're going to be game plan. I'm going to go Watson. Ty, let's go with, man, I'm going to go Garrett Wilson over Pierce. I like Pierce. I think Wilson gets enough done here. Hopkins or Jamal Williams. If you think Hopkins' ankle is 100%, which I don't, I'm going to start. You start him. I'm going to start Jamal Williams because I don't think Hopkins is nearly 100%, and I think that's going to be a problem. And Elijah Moore or Algier. Algier is super safe, and I think I'm going to go with Algier for that reason. I don't know what Moore's upside yet is. And then we're going to go Connor over that group, and we're going to go – I'm going to go Montgomery. I don't think Hopkins is right yet. If you think he's right, then play Hopkins and Connors. Connor, I don't think Hopkins is right. I'm going to go with Montgomery. And then Tua or Fields. Tua is safer. The boom bust play is Fields. All right, Josh, we're going to go with DJ Moore and Mike Williams there. Camden, we're going with James Cook here because I think all three are great plays. All three are great plays. I'm going to go James Cook. We're going Flowers over Lockett for volume. Lockett or Godwin. We're going with Godwin for floor and ceiling. Sleek. Oh, yeah, you got your question. All right. DJ, if anybody was asked a question earlier and I missed it, pop it down and I'll get it right now before I get out. Juan Carlos, DJ. I like DJ Moore over these. I think he breaks back out. He's owned this defense. Pickens or Khalil Herbert. Man, Pickens has a bad matchup. And so he's the boom bust play. I think Herbert's safer to get you about 9 points. Pickens could get you a 4 or a 17 if he can break something, but I'm not confident of that. I would start Herbert, but if you need the boom bust, that's it. Sleek, Puka, Elijah Moore, Javonte. I'm going with Elijah Moore here. I think, you know what? Elijah Moore is a little more boom bustish. I think your safest play on this is Javonte. Javonte should get you about 60 yards here. And it's a tougher matchup, but I think he's shown enough last week to get about 60 yards, whereas Moore is going to be more boom bust. If you need a little more pop in your lineup, then you're going to look for Elijah Moore. Puka against the 49ers, I just don't trust him. But if you believe he's an outlier, roll with him. I just don't think in this matchup it's going to happen. Dillon or Garrett Wilson? Garrett Wilson, don't overthink this one. A.J. Dillon, could he score 2 touchdowns? Yes. To predict that, I can't. If he does, we live with it. Garrett Wilson should see enough to get by. And then this is the last one. All right. Pure Dubs. With Jones out, flex number 1, Gus Edwards, Kyron, or Roshan. All right, non-PPR, I'm going to go with Gus. I'm going to go Gus Edwards there because I think he should have a solid role in this game. Kyron, tough matchup. Roshan is a receiver. If it's PPR, I'd go Roshan, but I'm going to go with Gus otherwise. And then we're going Marquise Brown over Justice Hill. Sleek, you're welcome. All right, everybody, thanks. Have a great week, too.